Good morning. Metabolism of proteins. Today we will see the metabolism of proteins with the formation and removal of ammonia. Amino acid pool of the body. Body contains 100 gram of free amino acids which are actively metabolized in a dynamic state. Among these, glutamic acid and glutamine form 50% of the total amino acid pool. Essential amino acids form 10% and usually intracellular amino acids are more than extracellular amino acids. These are the active form of amino acids. Among these, about 300 to 400 gram amino acids are usually produced from body protein breakdown daily, and at the same time almost equal quantity will be used for protein synthesis. Dietary protein provide about 40 to 100 gram per day, and non-essential amino acids are synthesis to some extent. At the same time, some amino acids are used for synthesis of non-protein compounds like creatine, purine, nucleotides, porphyrins, and some amino acids are used for glucose and fatty acid synthesis. Some amino acids are broken down completely for energy production. About 10 to 15% of the energy requirement is met by amino acid catabolism. And the waste product of amino acids removed 30 to 50 gram per day as urea from the body. So this amino acid pool is in a dynamic state but steady but dynamic. Rate of synthesis of proteins balances rate of degradation usually in adult life, and in growing period this will be different, and during disease condition etc. there will be some difference in the dynamic state of the amino acid pool. There is an active and interorgan transport of amino acids to maintain the steady state. Muscle and liver plays a major role in the amino acid metabolism, and liver is the central organ of the metabolism. General amino acid metabolism include anabolic reactions, catabolic reactions, and synthesis of the specialized products and other minor metabolic functions like conjugation, methylation, amylation, etc. Proteins are broken down. Amino group removed as ammonia, which is converted into urea and excreted from the body, and carbon skeleton may be degraded or utilized for synthesis of various other molecules. Basic reaction for amino acid metabolism is the transamination, exchange of alpha amino group between alpha amino acid and one keto acid, and this will form a new alpha amino acid and a new keto acid. This reaction takes place in almost all the cells, and enzymes involved are called transaminases or aminotransferases. And pyridoxal phosphate derived from the B complex vitamin pyridoxine act as the prosthetic group in this reaction, and usually are reversible reactions. This is an example of transamination reaction where alanine and glutamic acid are two amino acids interconverted, and corresponding keto acids are the pyruvic acid and alpha ketoglutarate. Pyridoxal phosphate can accept amino group from one amino acid and to form pyridoxamine phosphate, and then this pyridoxamine phosphate donates its amino group to another keto acid to form corresponding amino acid. So glutamic acid combined with pyruvic acid to form alpha ketoglutarate and alanine. Two non-essential amino acids are involved in this reaction. Depending on the necessity, one amino acid can be synthesized or can be used for conversion into other amino acid. Enzyme alanine aminotransferase, or old name was serum glutamate pyruvyl transaminase. This enzyme is having another importance in clinical enzymology to determine some disease conditions, especially of the liver diseases. Another similar enzyme is aspartate aminotransferase or serum glutamate oxaloacetate transaminase, where glutamic acid and oxaloacetate combine together to form alpha ketoglutarate and aspartic acid. Another non-essential amino acid, aspartic acid, is involved in this. And in the most of transamination reaction, alpha-ketoglutarate and glutamic acid are involved. Alpha-ketoglutarate can accept amino group from amino acid and can form glutamic acid. Significance of transamination reaction are the first step of the catabolism. And most amino acids enter catabolic reactions by transamination reactions, and synthesis of non-essential amino acids can be done by transamination reactions. Interconversion of amino acids can be done by transamination reaction. Lysine, threonine and proline will not undergo transamination reactions. Oxidative deamination is the next step of the catabolism of amino acids, mainly involving glutamate dehydrogenase enzyme. Glutamic acid will be converted into alpha-ketoglutarate with the liberation of ammonia by this reaction. Glutamate dehydrogenase mainly occur in liver mitochondria to liberate ammonia. Can use either NAD or NADP as the coenzyme, and by this reaction glutamic acid can act as the collection center of amino group from other amino acids. Alpha-ketoglutarate will collect amino group from other amino acids by transamination reaction to be converted into glutamic acid, and then glutamic acid will undergo oxidative deamination in two-step reaction. So these reactions are called trans-deamination, transamination followed by oxidative deamination. Other minor reactions producing ammonia are L-amino acid oxidase. L-amino acids can be converted to corresponding keto acids and liberation of ammonia. Amino acid dehydratase, mainly of hydroxyl group containing amino acids, serine, threonine and homoserine can be dehydrated to form corresponding keto acids with the liberation of water and ammonia. Cysteine, sulfur containing amino acid can be desulfidase to form pyruvic acid and the liberation of ammonia and hydrogen sulfide. Histidine, acted upon by histidase to produce urocanate with the liberation of ammonia. So ammonia can be formed in all the cells by transamination followed by oxidative deamination, oxidative and non-oxidative deamination, hydrolysis of glutamine, especially in kidney and liver, and then in intestine by bacterial putrefaction of the stagnant food items will produce ammonia, which can get absorbed into circulation. And this amino acid can be easily transported in the circulation by combination with the glutamic acid in presence of glutamine synthase to form glutamine, another amino acid containing extra amide group. And then in reaching the liver, this glutamine can be hydrolyzed by glutaminase to liberate ammonia and remaining part acting as glutamic acid. So two important amino acid metabolism are the glutamic acid and glutamine, which can accept amino group from various other amino acids and can be transported easily to liver. And this glutamic acid and glutamine will constitute about 50% of the amino acid pool in our body. Transport of ammonia mainly as glutamine from various organs to liver. Another minor form of transport of ammonia is similar to Cori cycle, where it is called a Cahill cycle, where glucose is converted to pyruvic acid and then transformed to alanine in the muscle, and then alanine reaches the liver and where it is converted to transaminated into pyruvic acid, and then gluconeogenesis occurs from pyruvic acid. By this mechanism, some amino group can be transported from the muscle into liver. And the ammonia is highly toxic to central nervous system. All systems are affected, but especially central nervous system, because of this reversal of the glutamate dehydrogenase reaction. Usually this glutamate dehydrogenation reaction, where glutamate is converted to alpha ketoglutarate and the liberation of ammonia, forward reaction. But when excess ammonia is present, ammonia will combine with alpha ketoglutarate with the production of the glutamic acid. This reaction will be reversed, and this reversal will affect the TCA cycle, where TCA cycle alpha ketoglutarate is an intermediate of the TCA cycle, and this is the most important cycle in the body for production of energy for fatty acid metabolism, glucose metabolism, as well as amino acid metabolism. So when ammonia level is elevated, glutamic alpha ketoglutarate will be converted back to glutamate and TCA cycle will be arrested. Like this, alpha ketoglutarate is intermediate TCA cycle, where this when ammonia excess ammonia will combine with alpha ketoglutarate and the cycle will be arrested. So this will produce toxicity to various organs, especially central nervous system. Primary defense against the ammonia toxicity is the formation of the glutamine easily, and secondary and final defense is by formation of urea from ammonia. This occurs in liver. In the liver, ammonia is detoxified into urea by urea cycle. Mammals and human beings are ureotelic, where nitrogenous waste products are removed as urea. Urea is the end product of protein catabolism, which is the final defense against this urea cycle is the final defense against the ammonia toxicity. And this cycle is the first metabolic pathway to be elucidated. It is called the Krebs Henselt urea cycle or ornithine cycle, as ornithine acting as a metabolic intermediate in the urea cycle, but combined with some molecule to form enter the urea cycle, and final reaction this ornithine is regenerated and can continue cycle. This occurs mainly in the liver. This is the summary of the urea cycle. Some part of the reactions, first two reactions occur inside the mitochondria. Then these metabolites are entering the cytoplasm, and then remaining three reactions occur inside the cytoplasm. Finally, urea is generated with the regeneration of ornithine, which will enter the mitochondria, and the cycle will continue. First reaction inside the mitochondria, where ammonia combined with carbon dioxide to form carbamoyl phosphate in presence of enzyme carbamoyl phosphate synthase 1. The two ATP molecules are required for this reaction in presence of N-acetyl glutamate. N-acetyl glutamate is a molecule which can activate the carbamoyl phosphate synthase. It is the most important regulator of this reaction, and by this N-acetyl glutamate can regulate the entire urea cycle. This is the rate limiting step of the urea cycle, carbamoyl phosphate synthase 1 in mitochondria. Another enzyme called carbamoyl phosphate synthase 2 is present in the cytoplasm, which is entirely different reaction, where carbamoyl phosphate synthase is formed from other substrates, and this carbamoyl phosphate is used for synthesis of the pyrimidine nucleotides, not for urea cycle. Second reaction also occurs inside mitochondria, where carbamoyl phosphate combined with ornithine to form citrulline in presence of ornithine transcarbamylase. Ornithine and citrulline are two amino acids which are not present in the proteins, and these two amino acids are present in our body as metabolic intermediates. Ornithine combined with carbamoyl phosphate to form citrulline. Then citrulline is entering the cytoplasm, where combining with aspartic acid in presence of adenosine synthase to form adenosine in presence of ATP, which is broken down into AMP and inorganic pyrophosphate. So two high energy bonds are required for this reaction, because ATP is converted into AMP level. Adenosine is formed in this reaction, and amino group of the aspartic acid combined with the keto group of the citrulline. So adenosine is formed in the cytoplasm. In the cytoplasm, next reaction occurs by adenosine or adenosine lyase to form arginine and fumaric acid. Arginine is a semi-essential amino acid which can be synthesized in our body like this pathway, and up to this path, urea cycle can occur in various tissues also. The fifth or final reaction occurring in cytoplasm of the liver, arginase enzyme acting on the arginine to liberate ammonia and regeneration of the ornithine, which this ornithine can re-enter the mitochondria for further cycles. Arginine synthesis occur in many tissues, but arginine is present mainly in the liver, and urea synthesis occur only in the liver. Fumaric acid formed by the urea cycle can re-enter the mitochondria and can enter the TCA cycle to production of the aspartic regeneration of aspartic acid, which can combine with the urea cycle again. By this, from the fumaric acid, when NADH can also be generated, which can be used for energy production. 2.5 ATP can be generated from electron transport chain. So this reaction, two reactions, urea cycle and TCA cycle, can be combined together, and it is called urea bicycle. Summary of urea cycle: ammonia react with carbon dioxide and plus aspartic acid and 3 ATP to generate urea plus fumaric acid plus 2 ADP to inorganic phosphate AMP plus inorganic pyrophosphate. Energy consumption equivalent to 4 ATP, but fumaric acid enter the TCA cycle and can produce 1 NADH equivalent to 2.5 ATP molecules. Regulation of the urea cycle is by carbamoyl phosphate synthase 1 enzyme. First enzyme, which is the rate limiting reaction, and N-acetyl glutamate is the allosteric activator of this reaction. Acetyl coenzyme combined with glutamic acid in presence of NAG synthase can produce N-acetyl glutamate, which is the positive modifier of this reaction. Depending on its availability, urea cycle continues. Another form of regulation is by compartmentalization. As we have seen, urea cycle occur inside mitochondria as well as in the cytoplasm, and so regulation is more easy. As some products formed inside the mitochondria will enter the cytoplasm, and so this will remove the feedback inhibition of its own production. And fumaric acid formed inside the cytoplasm can again re-enter the mitochondria for TCA cycle, and this can also will not inhibit this urea cycle. Abnormalities of the urea cycle: as there are many enzymes and transporter proteins. Any enzyme defect or transporter protein defect can produce abnormal urea cycle, congenital as well as acquired. And this will produce hyperammonemia. And as we have discussed, the brain and central nervous system is very sensitive to ammonia. Hyperammonemia type 1 is produced by carbamoyl phosphate synthase 1 enzyme deficiency. Autosomal recessive condition with a very high ammonia level and mental retardation is usually seen in this condition. Hyperammonemia type 2 due to ornithine transcarbamylase deficiency is an X-linked condition with a high glutamine in the blood, cerebrospinal fluid and urine, and orotic aciduria is characteristic of this condition due to excess pyrimidine synthesis. As we have seen, in this ornithine transcarbamylase is deficient on carbamoyl phosphoric accumulate inside the mitochondria, which can enter cytoplasm and will undergo pyrimidine synthesis. As there is excess pyrimidine synthesis, orotic acid is also produced, which can be excreted through the urine, and orotic aciduria is common in this condition. Defective ornithine transporter protein deficiency due to regenerated ornithine in the cytoplasm must be transported into mitochondria for further cycle. If this transportation is defective, urea cycle will not continue completely. So high ammonia and ornithine in the blood can be seen in this condition with a decreased urea level. Arginosuccinate synthase deficiency will produce high ammonia and citrulline in the blood, and this is called citrullinemia, leading to citrullinuria. Citrulline will be excreted through the urine. Arganosuccinic aciduria is due to arganosuccinate lyase deficiency, where high ammonia level and arganosuccinate in the blood and urine can be seen, characterized by friable and brittle tufted hair in this condition. Hyperarginemia due to arginase enzyme deficiency with high arginine level in blood and cerebrospinal fluid. Cysteine, lysine, etc. are also dosed in the urine. Usual treatment is the symptomatic treatment in hyperammonemia, where diet restriction and avoid breast milk in the cystoinemia, etc. And one of the common cause for hyperammonemia, acquired hyperammonemia, is due to liver disease, where usually caused by alcoholism. Chronic alcoholism leads to liver failure. Complete fibrosis of the liver is called liver cirrhosis. Usually, most common cause for cirrhosis is alcoholism. It is also called hepatic coma or portal systemic encephalopathy due to damage to the liver. Encephalopathy occurs due to hyperammonemia. Central nervous system dysfunction leading to altered sensorium and convulsions or fits can be seen. And other features of the liver failure can also be seen, like ascites, that is edema of the abdomen, generalized edema, jaundice or yellowish discoloration, enlargement of the liver, hemorrhage from variceal bleeding, that is from esophageal varices can bleed leading to vomiting of blood or hematemesis, etc. can be seen in this condition. In acute hyperammonemia, restriction of the diet is most important. Then intestinal disinfectants and laxatives. Intestinal disinfectants are the antibacterials acting locally in the intestine which are not absorbed. This will prevent the growth of the bacteria in the intestine, and usually these bacteria will act on the stagnant food items producing ammonia, which will be absorbed into the circulation. So this can be prevented by intestinal disinfectants. Laxatives will prevent stagnation of the food items in the intestine and will prevent production of the ammonia. Avoiding hepatotoxic drugs are important because most of the drugs are metabolized inside the liver and some are toxic to liver, so this must be avoided. And amino nitrogen can be eliminated by hippuric acid or phenylacetate glutamine. Hippuric acid is a conjugation reaction as part of the glycine metabolism, where glycine conjugate with the benzoic acid for hippuric acid. By this reaction, one amino group can be removed from the body as hippuric acid. Phenylacetate and glutamine is another conjugation reaction with the glutamine, where glutamine cannot eliminated from the body easily, and this will eliminate some amino groups from the body. Ammonia in our body is converted into urea in the liver, and urea is transported to the kidneys, and from the kidney urea and creatinine are excreted through the urine. So if there is any damage to liver, complete liver failure, ammonia cannot be converted into urea and ammonia toxicity will be seen. And if there is any liver kidney disease where urea excretion will be defective, causing increased urea and creatinine level in the blood. Blood urea is about 20 to 40 milligram per 100 ml or 2.4 to 4.8 millimoles per liter, which is an indicator of the kidney function. Mild elevation of the urea level can be seen after protein intake, and urea is called abnormal elevation, usually due to kidney diseases. 15 to 30 gram of urea is excreted per day. It represents 80% of the organic solids in the urine. And liver function test as a separate test to assess the liver function. In liver, severe liver disease, urea level will be decreased and ammonia level will increase. But liver function tests are based on other parameters like serum bilirubin, protein, ALT, etc. More easily to assess the liver function with these tests. Thank you.